Hey, what's up guys? I'm Brian. This is Tech Therapy. Thank you so much for joining me. Today is a comparison of the 77-inch Samsung S95C QD-OLED versus the LG G3 77-inch WRGB OLED with micro lens array technology. 77 versus 77, seeing these two titans go at it is amazing. These are the two sizes that we always planned to show you since they were both introduced at CES. Seeing a quantum dot OLED at 77 and an MLA WRGB OLED at 77 is truly a sight to behold. But if I'm being honest, these comparisons between these two champions has been done to death by me and many others for months now. So for this comparison, filmmaker mode and all the accuracy, that is all taking a back seat today. What I want to do is let them off the chain and let them run free and be as saturated and as vibrant as they possibly can be. That is their strength overall. And catering to that group and to the accuracy thing, I am not an engineer. I do not work for NASA. I'm not splitting the atom. I will tell you why I'm doing this. I sat for a few hours making these TVs look exactly the same. I had to adjust one to make it look this filmmaker mode and static tone mapping on this one to make this one. And on each one, I had to hurt one a little and strip them of all their processing to make them look as accurate as possible. And I will tell you, it is boring as heck to me. So here, this will be a fun comparison, seeing them be vibrant, seeing them look different, and together for the next 20 minutes, I'll describe to you what I'm seeing, and we'll discuss it when the video premieres, which many of you join in, and I thank you for that, as a premiere is basically a live chat when a video airs for the first time. These videos from me are discussion based. They've always been very long. I've been shortening them because YouTube favors these shorter videos. Kind of done doing that. I want to enjoy this process. I want to enjoy what I do on YouTube. I want you to enjoy it. So what I'm going to bring to you is a long video that we'll enjoy in the premiere. For those of you watching right now as this video premieres, I love you guys and I appreciate you guys. But I'm also going to bring you what you're going to see in real life. Very few of you are going to calibrate these. I respect calibration and accuracy. It's not for everyone. And for this video, I will not be catering to that. I'll be showing you how vibrant, how bright, and how amazing these two panels are. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the comparison. All right, guys, as you can see in the settings, we are actually going to be in standard on the LG G3 as well as standard on the S95C. Both of these are 77 inches. They are not lined up perfectly. We are shooting this in real time in real conditions. Did not have a chance to get the furniture lined up. We are at Value Electronics. So having these set up kind of in real world is what you're gonna see. Now they're both in their standard presets with these settings reset. That's color temperature, that's everything. So however they are set up at the factory is how you were seeing them. I am learning myself, well, it's not something I've learned, I've been doing this forever, but now more than ever, the processing of each TV makes the difference. The presets you're in make a difference. And for me, as I mentioned earlier in the intro, trying to make one more accurate than the other, then there was dynamic contrast disabled and then re-enabled, and dynamic tone mapping on static, but then active. And I could see that in filmmaker mode, I was trying to get it accurate, and then one would look muddy and one would look more accurate. So what you're gonna see here is legit what they are when you bring them home, when you go through these presets. Now, over the years, standard has been one of the punchier presets for LG, which it's not really that bright or as bright this year with the G3, but it has a bit more depth than it has in the past. Now, for the standard on the S95C, it is a preset that does hit a nice mixture of its brightness and vibrancy without it being in that dynamic mode. So we are looking for punchy, vibrant, and colorful. Now, I'll say this more than once in this comparison. They are different technologies. The colors, even if they're set to the same presets or same temperature, they will show up different on camera. It's just the way it is. They are, again, at different technologies. QD-OLED versus WRGB. Now, as we've mentioned, these comparisons have been done time and time again by me and everybody else. That's why I want this last comparison between these two to be a bit different. Again, thank you for being here. If you're watching during the premiere where we're all together live chatting, special shout out to you guys. Love you guys. That's typically the true community that shows up as these premiere, where we'll sit together and chat. Now you're going to hear me rant a little bit through this as talking about these comparisons as a creator, as a person that does these videos. As I mentioned, I sat in this store for about 10 hours filming these two TVs as well as the Z9K versus the S95C. The majority of that time is checking to make sure this is set up this way and set up that way. And again, what I found is as I put one in Filmmaker and the other in Filmmaker, I constantly would see that dynamic tone mapping didn't work right or didn't make a big difference on this preset, but made a huge difference on the S95C. So then I'd be forced to put one into static. I put the S95C in a static, and that would be much dimmer. And then it would give the G3 an advantage. So basically letting these TVs fend for themselves. Standard versus standard. There was a portion of this video towards the middle where I will switch to Cinema Home, which is a brighter preset for the G3. Now keep in mind, as we get brighter, sometimes you do lose depth. There are times where the G3 will look more colorful. There's times where the S95C, its brightness seems like it's hurting it. The camera is also, we're not changing any of the features, letting it kind of run wild. It's the best part about filming OLEDs. You don't have to change the camera much. But tell me what you see in the comments. The reality of these two is, again, processing, presets, and settings. You can literally make them look identical other than the color temperature difference you see on camera. You do not see them in person. For many times when you see whites, they do appear more white on the G3 a lot of the time. However, in person, the S95C doesn't look quite as blue. Screen uniformity is excellent on both. Then at times the S95C's color or more color will be obvious, sometimes to its detriment, as sometimes Samsung's picture processing and color can look almost cartoony. And to many of you, you don't love that, and to others, you look for that. And that's what I mean about in the beginning of this video, catering to one or the other. No longer interested in doing that. We are creators, we are creative. And I want to have fun doing this. And a lot of times the painstaking process of making this one look like that one, I found that I basically stripped it, both of them, of their strengths to make them look muddy almost. Hey, that's accurate. Well, they're both very bright OLEDs. I'm glad that OLEDs are this bright now. They look brighter than LEDs in many shots, and even in compared to other LEDs, both of these OLEDs look brighter. I don't want to kneecap them and make them look not as bright. I do think they both look wonderful. Again, lots of color, lots of depth. Both of them do look three-dimensional. And you're going to see these demos repeat a couple times because they will look different as I change the preset on the G3. The reason why I left this and didn't condense it is I want you to see the differences changing one preset to the next. Now the G3 will measure brighter than the S95C. It doesn't always show up here on camera. However, lining them up, if I try to give one an advantage over the other, it just didn't really work out. It got to be where in one shot, one would shine through brighter, and then in the next shot, the other would be totally crippled. And that's something you have to be careful with comparisons. You'll see the Z9K go against the S95C, and it beat it in many, many scenes. Now keep in mind, that's a 4,000 nit mini LED master series, showing you how amazing the S95C is to have to be able to fight something like that. But when I was comparing those two, I did keep them as accurate as possible. Had I let the Z9K completely off the chain, it would have been almost impossible to film. So always keep in mind in comparisons that there is always going to be tinkering involved, and you are trusting the creator to bring you the most even comparison you can. Which is why I basically went in and defaulted them both. Let them do their thing. Now we're going to change into Cinema Home on the LG, but I am going to leave standard on the Samsung, as I like this preset. It's bright, it's punchy. And we'll repeat some of these. Now, special thanks to Value Electronics for allowing me to film in their stores again for about 10 hours. Please consider making your next AV purchase through them. Check the description below for all of their information. Let them know that Brian from Brian's Tech Therapy sent you. They will take great care of you. What do you think about the differences in color, the differences in HDR impact? As you're looking at our good friend Jennifer Gala, amazing work by Jennifer. She's featured in nearly all of my videos, so give a special shout out to Jennifer Gala and her other channel, the HDR Super Channel. Check for both of those channels in the description, and please like and subscribe and check out her amazing work, because her work is all about depth and beauty and HDR impact. Now, once I threw the filmmaker mode out the window, I immediately had more fun. And I'll say this while we're here chatting, just us friends. Trying to make these things accurate and go by that was so boring to me. I've been doing it now for months with each comparison, making this one. I really wanted to show you what you would see at home. As I mentioned, I respect the heck out of calibration and calibrators. I know many of the ones you know. I don't personally always love the image. The processing, the little things that you see go into these TVs is so important. The detail enhancement, the things that they add. Yes, some of it needs to be stripped away, but a lot of it is great. The expression enhancer on the G3. Dynamic tone mapping, static versus, active. You'll see active on the S95C the entire time. And as I mentioned, going back and forth, if I try to disable or go with the S95C on active in a certain preset, the dynamic tone mapping for the G3 wasn't doing anything. So it literally looked the same in all three. So it was very hard to get them like for like. So what I'm basically showing you here as I babble on is what you'll see at home as you go through the presets. Is it right? Is it correct? Not really interested in that. I'm interested in bringing you what you'll see at home. And just having fun with these things. These things look incredible. Now, all the coverage you've seen of the S95C and the G3, where are you? What do you feel? What do you think? Now, I'm not interested, I will tell you 100% I've never been in saying any of these are trash, which is utterly ridiculous. These are both the two top TVs in the world right now. We're going to switch over to Vivid and Dynamic for this particular demo here, so you can see how bright and punchy they get. For me, I go back and forth. It is literally to the point now where I'm going by design. Now, gaming is excellent on both of these. G3, I think, will need a few more updates to get where it needs to be. I do like G-Sync. I am NVIDIA player. I also do like the 144 Hz on the S95C. My PC was actually here, but I spent so much time, I didn't have a chance to really compare them game-wise. So if I do another comparison with these two, it'll be gaming. Both have HDMI 2.1 full bandwidth. Both are fully optimized for gaming, but Samsung has a few more features. Ultra-wide, 144 Hz and native. Implementation on G-Sync is better on the LG. At least from what I can remember from last year. It may be better now. On the Samsung, I should say. Then it comes down to the stand, the silver bezel on the G3, the thicker overall TV, though it's all the same thickness. Now we're going to get back into our standard versus Cinema Home. And you can see, repeating this demo from earlier, now the G3 has a punchier look to it, being in Cinema Home versus standard. But I wanted to leave that in the video to show you kind of how they change. You can see how they handle depth of field. You can see how they handle the demo material. Now, even though we're in these punchier presets, one will look more natural than the other. The reality is, guys, it's your eye. It's what you see and what you favor. I'm not a fan of telling you this is correct or this is right. I don't believe there is an authority in this game here. I think it's what you see and what you prefer. You like motion interpolation, you like dynamic contrast, you like filmmaker mode, you like everything shut off, you're not wrong. This is a conversation I will have in an upcoming tech therapy video. I'll be bringing those back, these longer discussions. But back to the design, the operating system, Tizen. What do you prefer? I prefer the sleek design of the S95C. I prefer the C-Series design. I don't love the silver bezel. But I trust LG. I trust their updates. When they go to fix something throughout the year, the TV gets stronger. And now, very much like last year, the G3 starts off hot, and then I'm hearing in forums, which I don't read personally, that people are now favoring the S95C. Well, keep in mind, that's how it was last year. The S95B came out swinging. By the end of the year, the G2 and in many cases the C2 were the more recommended consistent panel. The TV year is a marathon. It is not a sprint. Now remember, as these two battle it out, Sony is just hanging back and further optimizing the A95L. It is done. It is ready for prime time. They're simply tinkering with it until they're ready to pounce. And I do feel the A95L will be extremely bright. I think personally, it'll be brighter than both of these. I know the QD-OLED can go as bright as they need it to. So then it goes back into the manufacturer and the manufacturer's signature, which is very interesting as I look at the Z9K versus the 900C. The Z9K lets that peak brightness run wild. At the cost of blooming, I will add, though. They look stunning, and at times you'll see a bit more detail on one versus the other. Now, LG and Samsung have excellent upscaling ability, though I would favor the G3 in this regard over low bitrate content if something is not great, below 1080p. But how much of that content are you really watching? And even then, the Samsung doesn't do terribly. The processing is top-notch on both. Motion is excellent on both. I will say what I did notice as we get to this part is that there were times where the S95Cs did look a bit lifted in terms of its blacks. Not in every shot, but just a couple you would see it. Didn't notice that at all on the G3. At times the G3 appears deeper, where it does sometimes feel like in that depth, some of the detail is missing. So again, it's push and pull. There is no perfect display. You can see it there. It feels like it's a little bit lifted. It's not lifted as much as you see it here. It is a little brighter behind me. They're not directly being lit. And it could be also the way Jennifer shot that particular scene. There's times where she'll lift it herself. And the reds are still a little unnatural on the Samsung. Again, we are in the standard preset. But as I mentioned before, I had filmmaker mode going on both. Dynamic tone mapping wasn't working well on one. As we go back into our dynamic and vivid here for this particular demo. And then as I moved into the Samsung, they both looked natural. And then in a couple shots, I could see the G3 was much more vibrant. And then I look and I was making the S95C too muddy. So again, trying to cater to that accuracy and what, you know, you may appreciate that in person, but on camera, they appeared very bland. Now keep in mind, they're both in cooler presets, especially in dynamic and vivid. Now I'd like to bring some of you guys some of the vivid stuff. It is something we've waited for forever, not vivid and dynamic, but bright OLEDs. It's something we've been begging for since OLED was introduced freaking years ago. Now we have it. Obviously they aren't blooming in that shot. Back into our regular presets here. No more lifted blacks or any issues there. I think in that shot, that's where how Jennifer was filming it. Sometimes she'll fade things out. But again, at times here, they look absolutely the same. But what's so interesting too is having the S95C really kind of be the first Samsung released this year, and having the G3 be the first thing released this year. It kind of sets the year in a weird spot because almost everything coming after that until the A95L is going to feel a little bit off. Though, being an LED fan, I am looking very much forward to the X95L, the X90L, and obviously the A95. Seeing how the Z9K went after the S95C, much like last year's X95K at 85 inches, how it went against the S95B. I'm interested to see how that handles it. But having the two best TVs released earlier in the year kind of sets the table for overkill by many of us, which I'll take full responsibility for. But I love both of these. Unfortunately, I can't have either one as I am in the 80-inch size. So I'm looking at the 85-inch X95L, the QN95 from Samsung, and the 83-inch G3, which I've yet to really spend time with yet. I want to be able to see how it performs. A lot of rumors it doesn't perform as well. I have to make sure that the power supply and the panel are new for that year. But any change you make will cost you something. You will lose contrast ratio going to LED. You will have some blooming. You may have brighter, larger highlights, but you will lose these specular highlights. The little sparkles you see, the stars. But they both look incredible. Want to know what you think in the comments. Again, neither one of these is terrible or garbage. They're both unreal. And that's what's been funny about the YouTube commentary lately in the last year or so. I'm used to toxic comments. I mean, I think they're funny. Over the years, they attack me, they attack everybody else. But attacking the technology has gotten worse. I mean, being so critical of TVs, anybody would kill to have. This is garbage, that is garbage, this is trash. I mean, the brand loyalty, the fandom is out of control. It's actually funny, but it does get exhausting after a while. Also, this one way to do things, I'm done with. This is, we got to do it this way. You got to film it that way. No, I'm going to film it the way I want to film it, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. But there's so many of us out now doing this. I've been doing this for 6 years, so I just want to have fun with it, guys. If I'm going to keep doing this, we have to have fun. It has to be a little lighthearted. Again, we're not splitting the freaking atom here. Just showing you TVs, and they're two excellent TVs. As we'll go back into the reds a little bit on the Samsung. Some of you prefer that look. Others like the more natural look on the LG. Now, I'll also be bringing you, again, more tech therapy videos. I'm looking to do those once a week. I'll go back into some gaming, and we'll talk a bit about certain subjects. Tell me in the comments what subjects you'd like me to cover in tech therapy, and I'll attack those and discuss those. But they both look amazing. We have Sony's coming up in the next week or so, next few weeks. But it's going to be interesting. These two have battled each other on all sizes and all kinds of content, which is why for this last comparison for a while, I wanted to bring you some punchy, vivid, colorful presets. Get rid of the nuts and bolts and show you what they will do in your living room. And at the end here, I'll tell you, you can place either one of these in the living room. Yes, the color will fade a bit or whatever, but they're bright enough to be there. The light has to be directly on them to alter that. For most viewing, you'll be fine. All right, guys, I'm Brian. Thank you for watching. Love you guys. Take care.
I belong to